Welcome to Absolute Bollocks Does the X-Men!
Woo! Now, you haven't heard any episodes of Absolute Bollocks, but one day you will, and this will make still less sense. All words are made up. Sir. Sir?
Can you say that again?
Sir?
Wait, say that again.
All words are made up? All
Do
words
sir.
are made up. Sir. Sir?
Do you say, I'm sorry, do you say, I thought there was a sound error. Do you say sir with like a T in front? Sir? Sir?
No, sir. Sir. I mean, maybe my speech impediment? Okay, we're gonna make fun of my speech impediment. Alright, okay.
Do you have a speech impediment?
I have many of them. I stutter.
Do you really?
Yeah, I stutter. One of them's just me being lazy. I mumble a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never, if someone said Nathan has a speech impediment, I would not know what they were talking about.
A lot of people, because I'm so confident when I speak, think that's how people are supposed to sound. But no.
Yes, they think you're setting the standard for human speech.
Yeah.
Because of your confidence.
Yeah. I'm what you call a Sigma male.
That's how I feel about my bedroom etiquette. I just come at it with such confidence that it seems like that's the standard. That's how it's supposed to be.
It is. That is what it's supposed to be. Is this why you called me? Is this why we're doing this? You just wanted to tell me about your weird bedroom stuff?
To validate my weird sexual proclivities. Mm-hmm. I'm not into feet. I'm just into toenails. It's important that people know that is.
They're two very distinct body parts.
One is sexy. It's like toenails are like the nipples of the foot.
You know what it is? It's the things that we're attracted to are supposed to be the things that make like a viable partner, and like good strong toenails, you can defend yourself.
Viable partner as in our way of genetically filtering out potential mates to find the best one.
Yeah. We are attracted to traits that'll further our genetic material. Having good strong toenails and fingernails, that good keratin, you can like defend yourself and or take down prey.
This is a great
honestly, they're weird.
This is a great way to segue into talking about the X-Men and genetics.
It is.
And things like that. Is by saying, you know what I look for? Strong fingernails, strong toenails. You know.
They are the next step in evolution.
Lustrous hair. As much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Especially early on, hair was a big thing. They knew how to draw hair. All characters had good hair.
That was actually... Okay, we're diving in. This is one of the things that caught me in my ignorance. Because we should set this up. You, Nathan, are an X-Men kind of... At least an X-Men fan enough. Would you say expert?
I would say... I would want to. Am I? Maybe not. But do I love the X-Men deeply? And spend too much time thinking about them? And too much brain space remembering weird shit about them? Yes. Okay,
but you're a lifelong fan and a reservoir of information and love for the X-Men.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Top to off with that.
Okay. And so that's you. Me, I did not grow up reading comics, and what excited me about doing this with you is that my parents were fully in the thralls of the Satanic Panic when I was a kid. So things like Dungeons and Dragons, they didn't know anything about it except what people at church echoed, the rumors about it leading to kids finding out about satanic things and getting into Satanism, getting into trouble.
It's all true, yeah.
And this is what I think is the big flaw of the Satanic Panic, if you want to get into it, is saying that anything that expresses a morality that doesn't honor God or Christ, it's a shortcut to Satan.
That's fair. You know I love me some Satan, but I came here to talk about X people. You need to introduce yourself. We know who I am. I'm Nathan. Who am I talking to? Who's this nameless voice? Are you God?
You should introduce me and sum me up. I want you to do a rundown of me because my ego.
Yeah. Okay. So you're Jack and Harder. You are just an all around fun guy to chit chat with. You got some good ideas. You know a lot more about movies than I do, which is impressive.
Yes, and there's never been a bad X-Men movie, I can tell you that.
Okay. So maybe you don't know everything about movies. You're a very talented cooking boy. He makes all sorts of interesting things, both food-wise and drink-wise. You're just a fun dude. You're very colorful and bright and bring a lot of joy and happiness into the world. That's
Yay!
Jason. Yeah.
We started talking about uh, with that bullshit about fingernails. About
Toenails, yeah.
Bullshit about toenails and hair and lots of it. This is gonna exemplify our two takes on X-Men '97, the not reboot, the continuation of the classic X-Men animated series. That one of the major standout things for me was I went, oh my goodness, Storm and Gambit have the same hair. Oh my goodness, Beast and Wolverine have the same hair. And it occurred to me, this is not like in the movies where they emphasize that this is a school. And I imagine it's the same in the comic books where the school is populated with a bunch of students.
There's times where it is.
Oh, okay, so sometimes it is just a base for the X-Men.
It really depends on what's going on. Sometimes they kind of play up the school side. Sometimes I feel like it forgets that it's a school.
Yeah. Not that, I mean, and not to blame it, because I know there's got to be an economy of characters. There's got to be an economy of plot. If every single X-Men meeting is being interrupted by them having to do their jobs as teachers, that wouldn't flow. But it made me wonder, because it's like a self-contained community at the X Mansion, who does their hair? Is there a salon in the mansion, or do they go out to it? Are like Storm and Gambit going to the same place?
No.
Beast and Wolverine going to the same vet shop to get cleaned up?
No, actually, it is part of their like mutant evolution that they just have dope hair 24/7, no matter
fantastic.
what. I don't know if that's canon, but I have a strong feeling it's canon.
So, is that... I'm going to test your knowledge here.
Okay.
Obviously, Storm and Gambit aren't supposed to have the same hair. That's kind of coincidental. Beast and Wolverine, I feel that must have been a design thing.
It might have been. I've never noticed it. I never really put that together.
You've never noticed they have the same haircut?
No. I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, oh shit, they do. And it might have just been they liked the hairstyle when they were drawing it. Because you have to remember a lot of like early comics when these characters, especially Beast and Wolverine, real early X-Men, there was a lot of concession being made for budget and timelines in comics.
Okay.
Like technically, fun fact, Beast wasn't originally blue. He was gray.
That's part of his arc. And I think that's really neat that the character has an arc that where changes happen that stick and that are permanent. Because oftentimes, like in all kinds of stories, something will happen that should have severely impacted a character, but by the end of the episode or by the end of the book, they've found a way to reverse it.
They might have retconned it. The reason he's blue is because there was just an inking error. They used to use blue to describe like deep black.
Yeah.
And then they just thought he was blue. Because if you look at like a lot of how like black hair is depicted in comics, there's like blue highlights, and that's how they did it. And so people went, "Oh, he's blue," but he was originally, I think, gray and black.
Okay, and Batman when Batman went black, it always had blue highlights. Superman has blue highlights in his hair.
Yep.
Which in real life would be awesome. Black hair with a sharp blue highlight.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. A lot of those errors eventually get retconned into like story reasons. Just because it's embarrassing to be like, we were just being lazy or we got something wrong. Instead, they come up with a reason.
I love that. I love that deep down, whatever else the story has incorporated to explain Beast color, it really was an inking error. Well, I was going to ask, I think with Wolverine and Beast, it seems to me that pointy hairstyle sort of implies animal ears.
Yeah. I've never given that much thought to that, but yeah, I definitely
or giving them
that.
kind of a bigger head, like a more intimidating looking crest or something.
Almost like horns.
Almost like horns or something, yeah.
Yeah, specifically Storm and Gambit's. Gambit's hair is kind of how it's always been. I've always remembered it. Storm's is new. So they did a redesign of Storm a while back and gave her kind of like a mohawk ponytail thing, which she's now rocking. I feel like she's like evolved the least out of the main X-Men.
She's a pretty
She's
solid
one of my
character.
favorites in that she's always been one of my favorites because she's very solid, very competent. She doesn't have a lot of the like weird mood shifts that you see with other characters, like as writers change, as arcs change, as drama is needed, you get these like big mood and personality shifts in the characters. And Storm has always been very like strong, steadfast, very regal. I mean, she was technically a goddess in Africa before she joined the
Hmm.
X-Men. It is nice to see them updating her character design and reflecting kind of where it's gone at this point. But her updated design was great. I'm glad they brought it into this, um, especially since they kept everybody else's design like really close to the original, which I loved.
Hmm.
Like Rogue's giant fluffy hair, one of the best.
Yes, I love Rogue's hair too.
Oh, and the dialogue. Oh, they kept the like corny kind of purplish dialogue from the original series in the original comics, and I just makes me
Yeah,
happy.
I did have a couple questions for you about Storm. Or I think Storm, and this is an overall opinion I have for superheroes. I don't like it when they're so overpowered that they
Right.
can level a whole city or level a whole field of enemies all at once with tornadoes or lightning, or like Professor X can just control everybody's mind. So it just
Hmm.
seems in those situations you just send a character like that out first and wipe the field
Hmm.
clean of any enemies, and then it loses the stakes. It loses any worry about the heroes winning or not.
That's fair. I mean, the way it's kind of handled in comics, because there's a little bit of like the escalation game of like, oh, this is the most powerful mutant. This is the most powerful. It becomes less of, well, yeah, Storm could go out there and create a hurricane that just wipes the city off the face of the map.
And from a
But
distance, she can fly
yeah,
herself. She doesn't need a plane. She can fly herself to within a mile. And tell me
hmm
if I'm wrong, because I do not know the parameters of her powers. But she can fly herself outside the conflict, fuck up the whole area where the conflict is supposed to be, and murder whoever the bad guys are.
yeah. I mean, she could just strike them with
Yeah.
lightning. Instead, the kind of the conflict, the limitation comes from how they would interact. So like Storm is like, I mean, you see it in the first episode where she, when they go to rescue Robert DaCosta, she's like, well, I wanted to do the non-violent route, right? And like that's what it comes down to is like the X-Men, specifically the X-Men under Charles Xavier, their whole thing is they don't kill, or they try not to kill. They definitely killed. They're trying to be the good guys, right? And so they're not gonna just murk somebody from 3 miles away with a bolt of lightning. The limitations come from their philosophy, not necessarily their powers.
That's true, and that's one of the great dynamics of the writing for the X-Men. It's always been there that they have such a strong internal moral conflict between what they can do and what they should do.
And you have to remember, comics very hand wavy. Powers
Right,
change in
right,
intensity and abilities constantly. I mean, their powers are more or less whatever they needed in a given
right.
moment, and the magnitude of their power changes with the moment. And so,
I appreciate that it's the good storytelling that comes out of somebody limiting themselves. We don't need to have any bad guys if someone can just get into their minds and shut them down, or
yeah, there's a certain level of suspension of disbelief. I mean, another great example. Okay, so Bishop's there, right?
yeah,
He pops in
Bishop's cool.
after Rogue.
Because
Yeah,
Bishop,
Bishop.
and now I don't know that much about him, but it seems to me that he gets
Okay.
his powers from absorbing energy. So he walks around not
Yes.
having a lot of powers until he
Yes.
absorbs energy. So there's a condition he has to he has to get something to blast him, or he has to find something to absorb,
Hmm.
and then he can act. Whereas Storm is ready to
Yeah, I
go
mean,
at any point.
he also has a giant fucking gun.
Right.
So like,
He's limited by
and
technology. If he doesn't have his gun,
yeah, but that's the thing is like, he came in with a gun. If they were gonna have it be, I mean, you can say the same thing about him as you can with Storm. He's like a futuristic freedom fighter. He comes from like 80 or 100 years or something in the future where the Sentinels essentially took over the world. And so like, he has good aim. He walks into the room and just like cap someone. Like there's no reason that, other than story, that he just doesn't go in there and just shoot
good
everybody.
guys also don't do that. Good guys don't just mow
Yes.
down a building from the outside, hoping to do as many fatalities as possible.
Yeah. Essentially every single X-Men other than in that situation, other than Morph and maybe Rogue, can just stand outside and blow the building up. Like there's no, you have to just accept that their powers, even though they're very powerful,
Yeah. What's the
very
thing? Like
limited.
Wolverine, he can't do anything unless it's hand-to-hand combat.
He has giant knives and he can't
But
die.
I mean, but he
Like,
can't use those from 6 yards away.
well, unless Colossal throws it.
Right, exactly.
Fastball
He has
special.
to get up close before he can do any damage.
Yeah, yeah.
And yet he is celebrated, and people are like, "Oh, he's the toughest. He's the most badass mutant." I'm like, no, Storm.
Yeah. Well, he also, yeah, can't die.
Right, right. Has Storm ever fought Thor? So as I was watching this, I was like, it would be neat to see their dynamics against one another.
I'm sure it's out there. There's a lot of goddamn comics.
Because it also occurs to me, if you're going to have a character that's super overpowered, it's neat to put them in situations where you have to speculate about would their powers work, or would their powers be an advantage or disadvantage in different situations. Like Storm underwater, can she do something? Storm in outer space surely can do nothing.
The X-Men do go to space a lot. I don't remember if Storm
Like
went to space.
if Storm gets out on a planet with an atmosphere, then an atmosphere and water and moisture in the air and all the things help create weather, because she manipulates
Solar
existing
winds.
weather. Oh, see, that is fun.
Space weather.
That is fun. Like, to what degree is she telekinetic and moving things, or is she only directly interacting with air, moisture, atmospheric heat, the things that make weather?
That's a good question.
Because can she make tidal waves? That's not technically weather, but she can make a hurricane.
Yeah.
Can't she do solar wind? If they had a space vehicle that had like a solar sail, could she just be
Yeah.
like positioned behind it somehow? Yeah, and then causing all kinds of solar heat and wind to be fucking up the galaxy.
Yeah, why not?
Getting into X-Men 97, I thought this first episode was incredibly well written and very satisfying. I really liked, not so much that, I know that at the end of the original series, Professor X was going to die, or died.
One of many times.
Yes, so that may or may not stick.
Probably will not stick.
Yeah. What appealed to me as I was rewatching the episode, it's like it created a fantastic paradigm shift where now all the characters' interpersonal relationships have to be kind of reevaluated, or at least reestablished. That first episode obviously needed to introduce everybody to to a new audience, to a new generation, as if those characters didn't already exist. And having the most important person in the story die, and now, okay, Cyclops is going to nominally take over. It's just assumed he's going to take over. And that was great. It's assumed that he's going to take over. He is sort of the team captain. But how does everyone feel about it? So now we get to see how they relate. Jean's pregnant, so that firmly establishes their relationship and how they feel about being in a superhero team and being parents. And then how everyone else feels about them potentially leaving. I thought all that was great. I get to see where everybody's coming from. Everybody has big feelings about what's currently happening in the show. A great way to reintroduce everybody. Great way to set up like that there are stakes for everyone on an interpersonal level, not just fighty.
Yeah. And I mean that is one of the appeals of X-Men, is there's a lot of the interpersonal. The dialogue took me back to the original series, took me back to the old comics.
And it's not that hokey.
No, it's a little corny at times.
I think we do have a little extra bit of grace for animated shows doing that, as opposed to
This is true.
live action.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely.
and that's great. The acceptance we have for that from animation. Let's just have more big dynamic moments, and they don't seem contrived, because it's quote unquote just a cartoon. But then when you do it really well and it feels so elevated, like better than live action could do, that's art.
Oh my god, the action scenes. Oh, jaw dropped, literally. They were just so, like, even for animation, so, like, interestingly dynamic. And they felt fluid, and especially coming from the original X-Men TV show, which wasn't bad, but just very stilted and kind of rigid because just that was the animation that they had back then.
I have kind of an example of a pro and con from the big fight scene with the Sentinels.
Mm-hmm.
The con was, again, the suspension of disbelief, the fun, the high tolerance because this is animation.
Mm-hmm.
Was Beast can pick up a Sentinel by the heel and throw it.
Yeah.
Like, that thing is a whole lot of fucking metal.
Mm-hmm.
How can Beast be that strong?
He might not be. Here's the thing. These motherfuckers have been fighting Sentinels for a while. And so Beast, being hyper intelligent, is like, oh, if I apply the fulcrum here, it looks like he's flipping this whole Sentinel, but if anything, he's just using its weight against it.
Okay, I absolutely accept that.
Yeah.
And then as he got the Sentinel on his back, ripped into the center of its body, and said, I think you're going to have a change of heart, friend. And
this will be the start of a very... what was it?
Something like a very non-consensual friendship.
Yes, friendship. Oh, God, it was beautiful.
Well, and then he just plugs himself in like it's a mech suit, and then uses it to... no, this is not set up for someone to just...
Beast has dissected Sentinels multiple times.
Yep. I know. The suspension of disbelief stands. I was watching that going, this is all very convenient and fun, and I would not accept this from a live-action movie.
If you saw their first Sentinel fight in the first series and in the comics, to now, I think they were trying to show how good this team is at fighting Sentinels. Mm-hmm. Sentinels aren't new. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So they fight Sentinels like it's their job because it's their job. So they're very efficient at it.
Yeah, it did almost seem too easy, but that's fine because it was a reintroductory episode, and like you said, when you take into account that they've had decades of experience, it holds up. Absolutely holds up. The other part of that fight, even before the fight started, I was blown away. I literally had such an exciting, exhilarating moment, which I love from any movie or show that can actually get my heart racing with excitement, was they jump out of the plane, and you have flyers, and they're going to take care of everybody, and this is cool, and you knew everyone was going to get down safely, but because it was the X-Men, they didn't have to get down in any kind of conventional way.
Yeah.
They all just fucking threw themselves out into the open, and Storm and Rogue are grabbing a couple people here or there, or using their powers to gently get people to the ground. Cyclops, who I know gets shorted and isn't the most popular character.
Yeah.
He won a lot of credit for me by going face first at the ground, and no one was there to help him. The team just knew, you don't have to help this guy, he's got it. He just went straight for the ground and then blasted himself to a gentle landing with his laser eyes.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember in the comic, and this might be just because it's been a long time, I do not remember him using them in a kinetic way. Like, he does it in the fight, too, when they're rescuing DaCosta. He, uses it to push him back out of the way.
Is it a force blast or like a heat blast? Can he cut things with his laser eyes?
He can cut things.
He can.
I'm trying to... Okay, give me a second.
You also explained that it's sort of... the powers can shift to be whatever they need them to be. So
they're very amorphous.
Okay.
But I feel like it's like a concussive explosion is how it's described.
So if he's cutting, it's like a very fine, narrow, concussive explosion.
Sometimes.
Like how a knife cuts through things without being heat.
That would be my guess. Yeah, I don't think there's heat involved.
The sharp, fine edge of a knife uses pressure to split things. Mm-hmm. If he had a very narrow beam, he could cut.
Yeah, we'll have to double check that. I'll re-up myself on this stuff.
If not, Marvel Comics. There you go. That's the answer. We fixed it.
There is like canonical explanation behind all their powers.
then on that same scene, the same jumping out of the plane scene,
Mm-hmm.
I, as I was praising and getting excited about Cyclops using his eye beam, I was thinking, like, you know what? No one needs to catch Wolverine.
Just leave him a couple hours, he'll be fine.
It's great, yeah. It's great that you're catching Wolverine, but you really don't have to.
But then they have to stand there and wait for him to heal. And he's gonna be all pissier than he normally is.
Well, I mean, what else is new?
Yeah.
How long does it take him to recover? Is that also sort of relative?
Yeah.
Like, more or less, he's not going to recover in 5 minutes from falling out of a plane.
It depends. Like, honestly, there's times where he's been, like, shot in the head and it takes, like, 5 minutes for him to, like, pop that bullet out and get going again. And then sometimes it's like, oh, Wolverine's almost healed from these wounds. And it's like... Right. So, it's amorphous, much like everything else.
That's cool. I did like that Wolverine is size accurate in the show.
Yeah, no, I love that they kept the old character design, really stayed true to it, which was fun. It was fun for me, being a fan.
And Morph, what I really liked about Morph, he was all the cameos. There were all these other X-Men and X-Men villains, like, popping up out of nowhere. And I realized, oh, it's just Morph. Morph can be anybody. Oh my goodness, you don't have to figure out how to work in different characters. You can just have Morph imitate them.
There's lots of fun little nods that I have noticed in it. Like, the one that I really enjoyed was the structure of the show, of the first episode, mimics the structure of the first episode in the original show, where it's Jubilee being hunted by a Sentinel, and the X-Men save her and bring her to the base and all that. And then this time around, they use Robert DaCosta, who's Sunspot from the New Mutants. And so you get that mimicking of them being the audience surrogate. Definitely less so in this one than in the original.
Yeah, he was a really fun counterpoint. Like, why should I try? Why would I want to be an X-Men? Like, and them having to, again, a great moment for them to establish their motivations, establish their philosophies and worldviews.
Absolutely.
Because there's a kid here going, I don't know you. I don't know who you are. Tell me.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. He's one of two things that I found really made me wonder where they're going to go with the story. So, Robert DaCosta is one of the original members of New Mutants, which is the X-Men Junior class.
Probably the best X-Men movie of the whole series.
Wow. I mean, I feel that way because I love New Mutants. But not a lot of other people do.
Wait, how sincere is that? How much did you like the movie version of New Mutants?
Oh, I hated it, but it was New Mutants, so I was excited. I got to see them depicted. It was fine. Not amazing, but... No, I really enjoyed the New Mutant comics way more than I enjoyed Uncanny X-Men ever. And then...
Oh, really?
Even more so, I loved... Excalibur was one of my other favorite, like, X-Men offshoots, which was set in England with Captain Britain and all that.
Wasn't Nightcrawler in Excalibur?
He was.
Excalibur, the team Excalibur.
Yeah, later on.
Was it Excalibur?
Excalibur, yeah.
I like it when they do X-hyphen things.
Oh, X-Force. Other exciting thing? Okay. So I was saying the two things I was very interested in where they were going to go story-wise. So they have just Acosta. Does that mean we're going to see the other New Mutants? Are we going to see them come in as students? Very curious. Also, if Jean Grey's pregnant, in the comics, she has 2 children, I put in quotes.
Yeah.
So she has the first one, Nathan Summers. Great name. Technically not Jean Grey's kid. He was the son of a clone. What was her name? Madeline Pryor. So she was a clone made by Mr. Sinister. So it could be that baby.
Yeah.
And then the only other baby, I guess, in the comics was Nate Grey, which was just made from their genetic material. Like, he wasn't, like, born normally. He was just made by Mr. Sinister.
Wait, what's his name?
Nate Grey. So instead of Nathan Summers, he's Nate Grey.
Okay. Is he, like, the opposite but the same as Cable Nathan Summers?
No.
Oh, it's completely different character. Like, not a mirror, bizarre versions.
Yeah, so Nathan Summers, born naturally from Madeline Pryor, Jesus, and Cyclops. He gets the techno-organic virus and then gets sent to the future
Oh,
to essentially be healed, and that's how Cable comes about. So Nate Gray was made using Jean Grey and Scott Summers' DNA by Mr. Sinister to make a new baby. So, what's the baby? Is it a new baby? Who knows? So I'm just, is it not really Jean Grey? Is it Madeline Pryor? I don't know. So that got me really excited. And then another nod that got me really excited too was when Jubilee was talking to DaCosta when he was in the danger room. And she's like, "You're going to show us your powers eventually. What do you do?" And she mentions, "Do you make gold balls appear out of your body?" That would be weird. There's actually an X-Men in the reboot of Uncanny X-Men that was called Gold Balls. That could just make gold balls out of his
Gold
body.
Balls doesn't sound like they did a focus group to see how popular that character would be.
No, that was a pretty wild. So I think that was like the first few issues of that Uncanny X-Men reboot was like I think the last time that I really sought out and read comic books. Like I just read indie now.
Yeah.
But it was weird. There was a lot of weird stuff in it.
When Henry Gyrich was saying tolerance is extinction, and I don't know if he said the actual quote of "You will not replace us." I know that came up in that Essex orphanage from Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
The bad guy there was like, "You will not replace us." I went, "Yep, get a tiki torch and some chinos, you fucker." Friends of Humanity, just watching them, I did not know who they were from the original show, so I did have to Google like, who is Pho? Why is this evil organization named after a really delicious soup? Or are they called Pho? Are you a bad guy organization called Pho? Really great branding. Really fucking Hanna-Barbera cartoon there.
Yeah.
The idea of keeping them allegorical, keeping them light, is maybe what has to be done because that's the tone of the show.
I mean, I wouldn't say it stays light. It does stay allegorical, but they explore what that means. Like they follow it to its ends. Like they show the emotional turmoil, difficulties that come from being othered, that come from trying to protect the people that absolutely hate you, and you see that come through. And there's some very real emotions in the comics. I mean, it is why I liked it because it felt very real at times, emotionally, maybe not necessarily in the setting contextually. But they definitely explore those difficult things. I think in a lot of ways the allegorical nature of it was a way to kind of skirt censorship because comics for a long time, and I think even still in some ways, maybe not, there was, much like with movies, there was a regulatory board that would not give you the seal of approval, which meant you weren't getting carried in comic book shops. So they had to, a lot of these comics had to protect themselves in that sense. Like, you can only go so far.
And also remembering that X-Men 97 is meant to be set in 1997. There were one or two little moments, I think Jubilee used the word bling, which I don't know if we were using in 97.
Well, and Bestie, he was like, oh, he's his ex-bestie, and I was like, the fuck?
That may have been.
Maybe, I guess.
A lot of terms are older than you think.
That's true.
The politics of this show are going to be the politics of 1997.
Yes.
That this is the Clinton years.
It'll be interesting to see how they do that. Because, I mean, again, like you pointed out, it's very clearly an allegory for MAGA. Like, there's no two ways about it.
And that isn't anachronistic because those sentiments have been around forever. MAGAs.
Neo-Nazism is...
You're an extension of Nazis and the KKK. You just traded white hoods for red hats, and it's not different.
Yeah.
So... if you're like, no, in 1997 there was no MAGA, I'm like, yeah, there were. They're just grandparents now. Yeah.
Like it's.
They were parents then who didn't have an internet to organize them, and now they do.
It's disappointingly timeless. I just remember being like watching this and being like, because I had that knee jerk. I was like, are they gonna get weirdly preachy with this, talking about these modern things? And I was like, oh wait, no, that's what it's always been. It took me a minute to spool up. I was like, oh yeah, X-Men. Yeah, okay, here we are.
And that's another thing of the criticisms I saw.
Yeah. Well, and then I saw, because I tried really hard, because I knew we were going to do this, and so I have blocked out all critique of this. I haven't read anything about it, except it popped up on my Reddit. Somebody was like, oh, I'm so tired of seeing all these people getting, like, upset about Gambit's crop top, and I was like, what's wrong with Gambit's crop top?
Oh, yeah. It took me a second to remember what you're talking about. Fucking Gambit. All right, let's get personal for a second.
Yeah.
When you were a kid,
Yeah.
who was the character you identified with and why?
Longshot.
Who?
Longshot.
Okay, who's that? Give me the character breakdown. His powers, his weaknesses, his fears, his desires.
His
crop
power.
tops.
His crop. I don't remember if he wore a crop top. His power was he was incredibly lucky if he thought he was doing the right thing, and I was like, hell yeah.
Wait, so he was a conditional version of Domino?
Yeah, exactly. Like if he thought he was in the right, he was lucky.
All right, I'm gonna let you keep talking, but I do have to say, Domino and now Longshot. Luck is not a superpower.
I would greatly beg to differ. I've been very lucky in my life.
For a character to be able to rely on luck, that takes all the stakes away from any story. That character's just going to walk in and succeed.
But only if he's doing the right
ease.
thing.
Now, I do appreciate that Longshot's conditional.
And with Domino, she's lucky. Doesn't mean the thing she's trying to do is going to be successful. She'll be fine.
Is Longshot a good person?
Yeah. He's a good guy.
Okay, because imagine if Longshot was part of FOH
Mm-hmm.
and always thought he was doing the right thing by being evil and awful and bigoted and succeeding all the time.
Morality is relative from your point of view. So yeah, like he was written as a good character and he was a good guy. What's moral to you is different for every person.
Right, and that's why he could do anything.
Yeah, but it's make-believe, and so he was a good guy. And I liked him.
What was his costume?
Dude.
What drew you to him? Was it his power?
The
that drew
power,
you to him?
yeah. I always felt like I was a very lucky person, and I always tried to do the right thing, and so I was just like, yeah, I identify with this.
That's really cool. Oh my goodness, this is going to be telling when I turn this question back on myself.
Yeah,
oh,
Jason.
Fuck. What does Longshot's uniform costume look like?
Yeah, a cool jacket and a bandolier.
Oh. He was in the animated series.
Was he really?
Yeah, I'm seeing a clip of him with Rogue and Wolverine in the animated series. He's got a mullet, so I judge you for liking someone with a mullet.
Wow, I'm learning a lot about this dude.
He also has a shiny eye, which looks like cables.
He has hollow bones.
What?
He has hollow bones.
Okay.
And 3 fingers and an opposable thumb on each hand.
That's
So
true.
he's not
He only
human.
has 3 fingers.
I remember fucking nothing about this dude other than his cool ass power. So he has superhuman acrobatics, leather-like skin. What the fuck? Advanced healing abilities. Do I just completely misremember this dude? Like, okay. Longshot has access to probabilities and luck. And the problem is that he finds out that there's a flip side to his luck. That there's repercussions. If you build probability towards yourself, you're probably taking them away from other people. So it's actually something that you shouldn't even be doing.
He also has psychometry.
Quit making up words.
Longshot can read psychic imprints that
Okay.
people leave on objects that they have handled, and thereby learn the thoughts that an individual had while handling the object. A phenomenon known as psychometry.
Weird.
That I like as a power.
Oh, you like that, but being lucky sucks?
Being that a character is always going to succeed, or has a means to always succeed, and that they can't lose that, and they can't... I'm thinking specifically of Domino here more, but that takes away stakes. That they can get psychic imprints is really neat to me, because that would be the kind of thing like going to a thrift shop and touching everything and getting the psychic imprint from things and learning a heap of useless knowledge, and then stumbling upon a remote control, and you find out, oh, whoever was handling this was always thinking about the answer to perpetual motion and perpetual energy. Or, oh, they know where a bunch of money's hidden.
Oh, I'd be into that.
Or a horrible thing would be, oh, they know who my real mom is. That would be, but then like something that could initiate a plot, initiate an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, we're hunting down a bad guy, we're going to go to his room, we're going to touch all of his things and learn all of his bad thoughts and really figure out what he's going to do next or where he's hiding, yada, yada, yada. And then instead, it would be a way to reveal the interior motivations of a character. Like, oh my goodness, this person is really sad. Oh my goodness, this person is being manipulated by a bigger bad guy. That as a plot device is really cool.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which was another... When they're interrogating Henry Gyrich, and then it's revealed that Jean Grey is plugged into Cerebro.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And it was the best line ever. As something that anyone listening to this needs to know. Both Nathan and I really dream about being house husbands. We really dream about being married to badass women who we openly support by taking care of the house, by taking care of their needs at home, by setting up a base from which their badassery can permeate the world and change it for the better.
Yes.
When Scott Summers is just staring down Henry Gyrich, he's like, what are you gonna... I don't know what he said. What are you gonna fucking do? And he's like, have you met my wife? And they cut to Jean Grey and Cerebro. I was like, yes! That's what I want! I want to corner a bad guy. And when he's like, you're not gonna do anything, Jason. I'm like, no, but have you met my wife? She's a clever girl. She's a fucking velociraptor, and she's gonna tear you up.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a fun scene. I really dug that.
Who do you think was the tornado that spoke to Jean Grey in her vision and said, I'm sorry?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, not again.
Yes, he said, sorry, not again.
I have a lot of thoughts on this. So, first thing, Kirby Dots. Or Kirby Crackle.
Yeah.
I was very into that. But it showed the future, and I feel like whenever they show the future, if they said like, oh, here's the easy solution, it's never actually going to be the easy solution. And that master mold in her vision didn't match the master mold that they destroyed in the desert. So I think there's still another master mold out there. I think that's going to be a big plot point.
Oh, or was the master mold in her vision kind of like the heightened...
It had like teeth and shit. It was huge.
Yeah, but it was like the feeling of it, the imminence of that danger.
Oh, maybe.
Was she was seeing the intent, the maleficence.
Maybe, but she said somebody else is in here.
Yeah.
Who was in there?
Yeah.
It had to be another telepath, which, I mean, there's a lot of fucking telepaths in X-Men, so who the fuck knows?
Someone was talking about just the opening credits when the X-Men are sort of charging from one side of the screen against a group of bad guys charging from the other side of the screen. Wasn't Emma Frost in there, and isn't she a telepath?
She is a very strong telepath. So yeah, it might have been her, but I don't. But see, the thing is, she wouldn't work with Trask because she is aligned with. I mean, she's in the Hellfire Club. Yeah,
sure. She could just psychically be out there.
Yeah, she could also be reading his mind.
Yeah, telepaths in X-Men can just be telepathing and maybe run into each other as they're using, like, get into each other's brains.
Right, but like in comics, nothing ever just kind of happens. It all means something.
Exactly, but what I mean is because that connection could happen. Mm-hmm. Emma Frost could have been like seeking out Jean Grey at the same time.
Yeah,
and coincidentally, like as Jean Grey is boosting her power through Cerebro, now becomes more of becomes more obvious or more
definitely
contactable. Or Jean Grey didn't realize somebody was already in her head. That's what I'm thinking, is someone's already... Or is Nathan Summers, is Cable telepathic?
I mean, I don't think they ever came back, because the reason they sent him away was because somebody infected him, Mr. Sinister, infected him with the techno-organic virus to stunt his powers.
So, but in the womb, he could be...
It could be him, yeah.
But is he telepathic, though?
I mean, he was before he got infected. So, in theory, yeah.
So womb baby.
A little womb baby just being like, look at these terrible futures. Can't wait to be born. Now, I said it earlier. Rarely does Charles stay dead. I think
you have a good point. It looked like a bald man. It was a man's voice. If I was writing it,
Yeah.
those wouldn't mean things. I would try to edit it so the voice was as undefinable as possible. That anything that looked like a face would be obscured in a way that you couldn't assign any one feature to indicate somebody, unless you were intentionally foreshadowing. So,
Which comics, everything's foreshadow.
yeah, Professor X being gone right at the top of the show, and what, like you said, he's never stays dead.
Sometimes he fakes his death.
It wouldn't be disappointing to foreshadow him coming back. You're almost expecting it.
It could also be, it could also be Sandman from Spider-Man.
That's true. Who now only exists in the psychic realm.
Marvel. It's all the same bullshit.
All connected.
Yeah. The baby, Peter Parker.
The unnamed child from Madam Web?
Haven't seen it, but yeah, probably.
You haven't seen Madam Web?
No interest in it. I am so burned by superhero movies. I just do not watch them anymore.
I think we're coming to an end talking about episode 1 of X-Men 97.
Yeah, it made me happy. It was a good episode. I'm going to watch all of them.
I'm really excited for episode 2. I'm really excited to talk to you about episode 2.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I hope it doesn't break my fucking heart.
It's called Mutant Liberation
Hope it doesn't
Begins.
crush me. Excellent. Hope it doesn't crush me in an emotional way. But that's fine. We'll get to that.
Oh no!
We'll get to that.
Oh no! Disney Plus, don't crush Nathan's heart. Don't
hurt me like this. I can't do it.
All right, I'm gonna let you go. Next time.
What's our outro? What's our outro?
Our outro? I don't know.
Yeah.
What's our outro is? What's our outro?
All right, outro. I'm Nathan.
And I'm Jason.
And this has been Absolute
Wake
Bollocks.
up in the morning, do the same shit.
Bollocks.
Hangover. Hangover.
Stay frosty, mutants. Those fucking humans will get you.
I got coffee. I got croissants. I got X-Men. Who could ask for anything more?
No. That was yesterday and today for me.